Module Overview. This module provides a comprehensive exploration of African cinema, tracing its emergence from the post-colonial period to its contemporary global resurgence. African cinema has evolved from being a medium of cultural reclamation and anti-colonial resistance to a powerful platform for expressing identity, heritage, modernity, gender dynamics, political critique, and socioeconomic transformation. Unlike the Western cinematic tradition, African cinema grew within unique historical, political, and linguistic contexts. It grappled with colonial legacies, systematic marginalization, funding challenges, and language diversity. Despite these hurdles, a vibrant and diverse film culture flourished, led by a generation of pioneering filmmakers such as Ousmane Sembène, Djibril Diop Mambéty, Safi Faye, and Haile Gerima. Their works merged local storytelling traditions with modern cinematic techniques, often characterized by social realism, symbolic narratives, oral storytelling, and community-centered aesthetics. The module also explores the rise of Nollywood, Nigeria, one of the largest film industries in the world in terms of output, and the growing importance of digital tools, film festivals, co-productions, and Pan-African networks in promoting African voices on the global stage. Learning objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to understand the historical roots and socio-political conditions that shaped the emergence of African cinema. Identify major movements, themes, and key filmmakers across different African regions. Examine how African filmmakers have engaged with issues such as colonialism, tradition, gender, and modernity. Analyze the rise and global impact of Nollywood and other contemporary African film industries. Critically assess the representation of Africa in global cinema versus self-representation by African filmmakers. 1. Historical origins and colonial legacies. Colonial cinema, used as a tool of propaganda and control by colonial powers, promoted stereotypes of African primitiveness, savagery, and exoticism. Africans were largely excluded from film production. Post-independence cinema, 1950s to 1970s. Cinema became a tool for cultural emancipation and historical correction.
Pioneers like Ousmane Sembène, Senegal, produced films such as Black Girl, La Noire de, 1966, that challenged Western portrayals. Themes included anti-colonial struggle, tradition versus modernity, education, poverty, religion, and gender roles. 2. First generation of African filmmakers. Ousmane Sembène, Senegal, known as the father of African cinema. Zala, 1975, criticizes post-independence African bourgeoisie and neo-colonialism. Djibril Diop Mambéty, Senegal, known for avant-garde and poetic storytelling. Tuki Buki, 1973, is considered an African cinematic classic, mixing surrealism with youth alienation. Safi Faye, Senegal, one of Africa's first prominent female directors. Kadou Beykat, 1975, blends ethnographic and feminist elements. Medhondo, Mauritania, and Haile Gerima, Ethiopia, U.S. Diasporic filmmakers exploring African identity, exile, and racism. Haile Gerima's Sankofa, 1993, is a seminal work on slavery and historical memory. 3. Themes and aesthetics in African cinema, oral tradition, and storytelling. Use of griots, traditional storytellers, parables, and proverbs. Circular, nonlinear narratives mimicking oral memory. Community and collectivism. Village life, elders' wisdom, ancestral spirits, communal values, colonial trauma and liberation, exploration of colonial oppression, white savior myths, decolonization, gender and patriarchy, feminist perspectives on marriage, motherhood, polygamy, and education. Modern filmmakers like Tsitsi Dangarembga and Wanuri Kahiu challenge patriarchal structures. Urbanization and migration, shift from rural to urban spaces, displacement, unemployment, crime, and cultural dislocation. 4. The rise of Nollywood and other industries. Nollywood, Nigeria, emerged in the 1990s with VHS films like Living in Bondage, 1992, known for rapid production cycles, low budgets but high creativity.
Themes centered on religion, witchcraft, family, wealth, betrayal, and urban struggle. Massive local and diasporic audience. Platforms like iRoko TV, Netflix, Nija, and YouTube have globalized Nollywood. Ghanaian cinema closely intertwined with Nollywood, focused on spirituality, traditional customs, and moral storytelling. South African cinema more state-supported. Films like Tsotsi, 2005, and District 9, 2009, deal with crime, apartheid legacies, and sci-fi allegory. 5. Globalization and African cinema today. Film festivals, Feespaco, Ouagadougou, Durban Film Festival, Carthage Film Festival, promote African cinema to global audiences. Funding and co-productions, collaboration with Europe, especially France, criticism of dependency and influence on narrative autonomy. Digital technologies, mobile phone filmmaking, social media marketing, crowdfunding and decentralized distribution. Women and queer voices rising. Directors like Wanuri Kahiu, Rafiki, Madi Diop, Atlantics, and Jenna Bass, High Fantasy, pushing boundaries. Representation and reclamation. African filmmakers now tell their own stories from their own lens, rejecting stereotypes. Critical discussion prompts. How does African cinema challenge or reshape dominant Western narratives about Africa? In what ways do African films blend modernity with tradition? How has Nollywood democratized access to film production? Does reliance on international co-productions limit the creative freedom of African filmmakers? How can African cinema be sustained without losing authenticity to global market demands?